because I know everybody wants to hear about ChatGPT and about how you use artificial intelligence and machine learning in real data management programs. I'm going to show you, I think, that we're working on and the types of uses that we're finding. Sound good to everybody? All right, let's continue. Quick fundamentals. Again, I'm going to go through it somewhat quickly, but ask questions, please. Number one, when you hear about machine learning, what is that? It's just a subset of artificial intelligence. And what is artificial intelligence? It's the whole concept that machines are built in such a manner to respond to stimulation that's consistent with the traditional responses from humans. This is given the human capacity for contemplation, judgment, and intention. Basically, we're trying to make machines that mimic human behavior. So, let's look at it a little bit. The concept of it, so I'm just going to peel away the veneer right off the get-go. The concept of intelligence is intrinsically human. Machines do a lousy job of mimicking human intelligence because it is intrinsic. And that's something that we need to understand. So when you see a movie like The Terminator, which is a wonderful movie, I certainly enjoy it. However, when you see The Terminator magically getting human emotion, that's really not how AI works at all. Because again, it's still a machine. At the end of the day, it's a sequence of what? Zeros and numbers still. Where human beings are not like that. If you do not believe me, think of your spouse for a moment. You can give your spouse the exact same input one day and get one answer, and give them the exact same input another day and get a different answer. That's human beings. Machines are not like that. When you build an AI model or a neural network, if you build two models the exact same way, you give them both the same input, they will give you the exact same output. That's what you want to understand. So the intelligence is now machine learning really to me where the excitement is at. Machine learning is a method of data analysis where we're taking analytical models, we're building large analytical models, which we will talk about. And what we're doing is we're using systems that learn from the data, identify patterns within the data, make decisions, and you're using concepts that you know about. Natural language processors, neural networks, and a host of decision trees, classic stuff. Back in the 80s, I programmed in artificial intelligence. That's when we use it. Not so much natural language processors, but we're using models, decision trees. When I get into what a neural network looks like, a basic overview, the same terminology we use. What's the difference today and why is it so popular? We never had the processing power. Today, my cell phone, the processing power of that in the 80s, you would need to fill a room like that. It's not that way anymore. So anyway, let's talk about it. I'm not going to go through this. This is a nice little summation slide that will show that gives you an idea of some of the uses for AI. All right, let's dive a little bit more detail into machine learning. I want you to understand the technology and the concept, because if you understand that, you're not going to fall prey to some of the odd marketing that might be out there. You really understand how to use this stuff to make a big difference, which I'll go through in the second half. All right, number one, neural network. This is the most techie slide of this presentation. Stay with me on it. You've all had your coffee. You're all caffeinated. You're ready to roll. You've had your sugar. You'll need it for this slide. Okay? So, a neural network is based on what? The human brain. Early on in science, when we started to scan the brain, all the terminology that you are going to hear is based on the human brain. So, a neural network is a network of artificial neurons, unlike our brain, which are natural neurons. And we program in software that simulates the way a human brain works. That's what we do. So let's take a look at it. We have three layers: the input layer, the hidden layer, and the output layer. The hidden layer, doesn't that sound mysterious? Sure is. I'll give you the three most common frameworks used in the hidden layer. We'll build on this, but let's remember input. We're going to do a process. We're going to have an output. So when you hear, again, stick with me here, folks. When you hear about a neuron receives one or more input signals. That's what you want to remember. An input signal is also called a synapse. Again, taken from the brain, taken from medicine. So, and it performs the neuron, think of it as a process. The neuron is the process, the synapse is input or output. Simple. Here's the big thing, wait. One of the real tricks when you're building a neural network, you're waiting. How you weight each one of the synapses, which is your process, your inputs, the way you weight them, that's what really impacts and changes your model and makes it more accurate. So the first layer of neurons will receive an input. What's an input? Something simple like an image. It could be text. It could be video. It could be a sound. It could be many things. And it begins the process of converting those into numbers. Remember, at the end of the day, these systems are using numbers. So even when you see ChatGPT, they haven't really, of course, they're not going to disclose to us how they built the hidden layer. Of course, they're converting this stuff into numbers. All right, learning point. Adjusting the weight is the primary way most neural networks work. Common neural networks that you've all experienced. Smartphone camera's ability to recognize faces when you take a photo. Like last time we had just a marvelous dinner together. When you were taking those photos, what happened? Little boxes around the faces. That's a neural network. When you are texting someone and it starts making suggestions of the word that you're texting, that's a neural network. By the way, I cannot stand that. It keeps changing my words and giving me misspelling. Does that happen to you? Sure it does. Yeah. My goodness. When's that going to get fixed? Anyway, translation tools like Google Translate, that's another example. As many of you know, especially in countries like Nigeria, where so many people are both, you guys know that the way languages work, it's not a word-for-word translation. That's much more complex. Anyway, makes sense? You are now experts on neural networks. That's all you need to know. You are ready. All right, machine learning approaches. There are three major ones that we use. Unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning, and I will just bury my lead here, supervised learning. Supervised learning is the big one. That's the one where we really see a lot of impact in the market. Large neural networks typically combine multiple of these approaches. It won't be one, it'll be a combination. Large learning modules, LLMs, are machine learning modules with extensive technical data for natural language processing. This is something that we see, right? Natural language processing. We all heard about ChatGPT, which I will speak about today. That's a natural language process. Sometimes, too, you can use unsupervised reinforcement to feed into the supervised learning module. Let me explain these quickly, and then we'll get into applications. Okay. All right. Unsupervised learning learns when we're building a model like this. This type of machine learning algorithm will learn test data that has not, that's the key word, not been labeled, classified, or categorized. Unsupervised learning identifies commonalities in your data. That's what it's doing. It's sifting through the data, looking for commonality, and then it reacts based on the presence or absence of such commonalities. So it's taking data, it's not labeled, it's not categorized, it could mean anything. By the way, very difficult. And it's just going to look for commonalities, hoping to identify something that's of value, commonalities or the absence. Make sense? All right. Now, reinforcement learning, a little bit different. Think of it as the next more complex layer. Here, it will enable an agent to learn from an interactive environment by trial and error using feedback from its own actions. So think of reinforcement learning as this. We're going to run the model. We're going to get our results. Based on those results, We're gonna rerun it again. And then hopefully we get a little bit better result. And we'll rerun it again and again and again. What we would call recursive learning, something that we used to do, again, back in the olden days of artificial intelligence. The big thing to remember is the last sentence here. In reinforcement learning, the model doesn't have the answer, whatever it is the question that you feed. Does that make sense so far? All right, good. Let's get to the last one, the most exciting one. I will share you, this is where the real payoff comes from. Supervised learning. This is where you have your input variables. Remember you learned about the 3 layers? Input, hidden, output. Remember? Here, you have an output variable and you use an algorithm to learn the mapping function from the input to the output. Here's the big thing to understand. In a supervised learning model, we know what the answer should be. Good example is if you have some examples of English sentences and then equivalent Spanish sentences, you can build a translator and compare what came out of that model against what you know are the correct or accurate answers. This helps you train your model because it's supervised. It's like somebody who's an expert in languages sitting over your shoulder, making sure you do it the right way. Make sense? That's the 3 major approaches. And when you're hearing about things like ChatGPT and all these other efforts, they're really using combinations of these models. That's what they're doing. On a very grand scale. We'll get it. All right. Supervised learning. This is where we have labeled data. When I say labeled data, what do I mean by that? We know this is a policy number. We know this is a dollar amount. We know this is a first name, a last name. That's labeled data. When we supervised learning with labeled data, historical examples, meaning historical correct answers, whatever it is we're studying or doing, that stuff works phenomenally in the industry. It's a disruptor. Lots of our client partners use this successfully. Leverage this kind of technology. This is just, I'm not going to walk you through this slide. I've given Dr. Wally all of my slide deck. It's a nice little cheat. Everything I just said is on here and a little bit. Any questions on the basics before we get into ChatGPT? All right, here we go. ChatGPT, first off, is created by a company called OpenAI. OpenAI is a for-profit company, not a not-for-profit. It's actually a little bit of a different designation, but it's technically a for-profit company. When you hear OpenAI, you would think it was not-for-profit, not the case. We don't know how much it costs to build ChatGPT. They have not disclosed it. But we certainly can estimate that was well over $100 million. When I think the United States, so as soon as I say that, what should go off in your mind? That's a really expensive application. Very expensive. However, I'm at the tip of the iceberg on the cost. Way more than this. It is estimated that it costs over $700,000 per day to run ChatGPT per day. That's a staggering amount of cost. I mean, if the 100 million didn't impress you with how expensive it is, the 700 grand per day should. My goodness, very difficult. Massive neural networks like ChatGPT and others I will name later, they're horrendously expensive to build and integrate. Now, if you're hearing this and you're thinking, oh, that's going to limit our capability, you're right, it will. And a lot of people who are doing artificial intelligence, they're trying to think of some way to lower these processing. This is just too old, at least today. AI lost, just to validate all this, they lost over $500 million. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Well, how were they able to do this? Well, Microsoft gave them $1 billion in 2019. Now, Microsoft doesn't give anybody anything, right? They're going to own this technology, this common sense. And $10 billion more in 2023. This is all from businesses. So it needs this kind of fund because they're going to still be losing more than $500 million probably in 2023 because so many, this has become a national, a world phenomenon. many more people are using. And when you look at ChatGPT, it's really an artificial intelligence, large language models, probably with many models as part of it. There's probably quite a few. So, and it can mimic like speech and reasoning. It does mimic it pretty better than we've ever seen before. And that's why I got so much notoriety. And how does it do it? It does it because it's been trained on a vast library of existing human communication, classic works of literature, a big piece of the internet. That's what it's doing. So it's very good at mimicking prose, which is nothing more than art, video, audio. Here's why it's gotten so much publicity. Number one, it has been pretty good as far as quality and answer questions. Like, you can ask it to explain quantum computing in simple terms. It understands that what you want explained is quantum computing, and it understands that you don't have a PhD, so in this topic, so we need to explain it in a simpler or a layperson. And it will figure that out. Do you have any creative ideas for a 10-year-old version? Yes, it will give you some good ideas for that. If any of you have children, 9 or 10, ChatGPT can help you out for birthday. It also has some advanced capabilities. The big thing, and this is first bullet, it actually remembers things and hold it. That's something we haven't seen a whole lot of in previous LLMs. We just haven't seen it a whole lot. And that kind of continuous feedback into the model is pretty impressive. It allows the user to correct previous statements that made a mistake in a previous statement. It can actually correct it. And it declines an inappropriate request. Now, when I say it declines, it doesn't decline all of them. When they first started rolling this thing out, it was getting a whole bunch of inappropriate requests and responses. And so they started building additional programming to try to limit it in certain ways. Is that complete? No. Why? Because it has a bunch of limitations. A whole bunch of its responses are incorrect. Some attorney, like an idiot, decided to write a brief using ChatGPT. Turned out most of the citations were inaccurate and false. And I forget if he got disbarred or is it deep trouble with the drug. Not a good, terrible idea. It didn't understand that those citations need to be correct. So ChatGPT still has a little ways to go. Harmful instructions. Somebody asked him how to create a Molotov cocktail and it told him how to do it. Probably something we don't want, right? Like the average person shouldn't need to know how to make a Molotov cocktail. And here's the other thing. Most of the knowledge within it was programmed up until 2021. So it's missing 2022 and 2023. So there are certainly limitations. By the way, they charge you, if you want to be a premium subscriber, $20 a month. Back 2 slides ago, they lost $522 million. $20 a month, this is going to cover. They're going to need to do something better than that at some point. Generative AI, which is what ChatGPT uses, it's not the only one doing this. You have things like Google's Bard, Badoo's Ernie, Sparrow, Meta's Blunderbox. So there's plenty of generative AI. And I guarantee you, with the way the industry has responded to ChatGPT, there's going to be 100 right behind it. I assure you. Anyway, generative AI is massive neural networks, armies of programmers, armies of developers to do it. That's why it costs so much to build in the first place. At the time of this writing, we don't know if ChatGPT is using unsupervised learning, reinforcement, supervised, some combination of these or something. I would guess, just, I'm not part of the development team. I would guess it's using all 3 approaches. I mean, this is a massive neural network. And who knows, maybe something new that we have some variation of patterns, just based on the quality of the output. So that's what we're seeing in ChatGPT. Any questions on it before I move on to actual uses for AI and machine learning in data management. Yes.
So I'm thinking, do you think this is gonna replace Google eventually?
I hope. No, I mean, that's a joke.
Confidential.
Well, Google certainly is concerned about it. So Google is building their own generative AI. And Google has done some initial testings with their search engine. And what they discovered was this added a whole, so every time we do a search on Google, that costs a certain amount of money to run. When they started applying their own generative AI, the cost skyrocketed. So now let's see what's going to happen with that. It's the early days of this. So much like anything, the first one you make and the first podium you make costs a heck of a lot more than the next million podiums. So certainly we're going to see the cost go down. Will it replace Google? We got to see a heck of a lot more. They got to bring that cost far down. But it certainly could. It would be hard to as their technical. If you really understand service engine optimization, SEO. I mean, if you cannot be found on the internet, you do not exist. That's just the reality of it. So Google, they own that market. It's gonna be hard to unseat. Now, if a couple governments rule against Google in more definitive ways, then might just get that. Great question. Oh, let me get here, and then I'll get this down. Uh-huh. Excellent questions. Let me hit a couple of several points there. Let me hit a few. First off, AI will not do away with women. That would be insane. So I would not worry about that. And as far as sense emotions, it can sense emotions in the fact that it isn't possible to have a definitive set of stimuli that we can say always meet certain emotional criteria. Let me give you an example. In nonverbal communication, if somebody thinks in images, when they respond to you, they look up and away. That's somebody who thinks verbally, they're going to look side to side. If they're about to lie, they look down. So if somebody ever says, wow, that was a great idea, don't believe them. Just look down. But is that always true? If we can say that it's not it's only if we can say definitive truth, always true, then it can sense emotion. The truth is, it doesn't really do all that good stuff. To your other points of, will it end up, can people use this for? Absolutely. If we are foolish enough to plug this into, if we take out wins from making processing, and we plug AI into it, imagine law enforcement, there'll be a bunch of innocent people being shot. I'll tell you, it is not capable of that. Not even slightly. So, can it be misused? Oh, absolutely. Could it fall into wrong hands? I have news for you. It already is. I'll share that right off the gate. A lot of people who see are not really concerned with the litigation, and that's something that hopefully more calmer heads look at this maybe in a more balanced and accurate way. Hopefully they went out. Be interesting to see. But if we start plugging this stuff into human decision making, that's probably not a very good idea. Make sense? Good point. Oh, yes, please. I wouldn't trust either one. The gentleman just said using Google or using AI. Well, Google certainly incorporates AI into the search engine or search engine. It's a question of how do they incorporate it. I would suggest, as far as this is a topic we were speaking about. I think it was last night. Critical thinking. I've seen people bring up things that they search for on the internet, and they believe it's gossip, and it's not. It's horrendously inaccurate, and that's where critical thinking at one time was taught in the school. You learn everything in the first grade. It hasn't taught in decades. I think today, with the internet, social media, and the pressures that exist out there, critical thinking is never more important than today, because there's so much bad information out there. So, to me, I wouldn't trust either of those sources. I certainly use both, but I try to find, so in doctoral programs, one of the things we talk about is triangulation. We need to find 3 people saying the same thing. So I'll give you an example. Many of us are wearing blue today. It's one of the key colors of IIM. Blue is a very calming color. If you look at different studies, it's trustworthy color. Well, if we want to believe that, we should actually be able to find 3 different pieces of research that appears to be peer reviewed, that appears to make sense, which appears to be done in a proper, ethical, non-biased manner. By the way, if anybody says the research is not biased, they've lied to you. Let me repeat that. Just make this very. I want to make it clear. Somebody says to you, the research I did is not biased, has no bias. That's called a lie. All research has a level of bias. If you are in a doctoral program, chapter in your dissertation about bias, how did you combat it? Knowing you never removed all of it. You've always been real biased. So those are some of the things. Your question, I love your question. It's an absolutely great question, because critical thinking, being able to think on your feet, is critical. Alan, you and I were speaking before this about how anytime there's new technology, how it goes cycles, and you've seen it as a parent, I've seen it as a practitioner. I mean, it's like the same. It's like some celebration. You've seen it in 1,000 times. It's going to be the same. Good critical thinking. You can look at that technology early on. Where's it really going to fit in? I'm going to show you some real world uses of artificial intelligence in data management, a subject near and dear to all of our hearts and everybody watching. Great question. Yes, please. What I do? Oh, what AI? Type of learning model. Nobody really owns it. I try to give an example of doing work around the house. So I'm just trying to give you a good example. It's kind of like saying if I'm doing a hammer and nail, what you don't want to do is have your thumb over the part. That's a really bad idea. You know, it's a good technique. Put your thumb underneath where you hit, with a little about an inch gap there. That's probably better technique. If that was news to you, you'd be like, wow, Dr. Marker really knows how to hammer and nail. And you use that technique, you don't know who your royalty is. Oh, AI uses concepts. neural networks, synapses, the three approaches to machine learning models. Those are not anybody that AI. ChatGPT. Here, as far as who owns it technically, OpenAI. Microsoft's given them an $11 billion. Newsflash to everyone. Microsoft didn't do that because they're really awesome, nice people. They did that because they're going to own this stuff. I'm sure they have significant ownership. So a ChatGPT, although it's owned by OpenAI, it certainly hit Microsoft after putting $11 billion probably. And you see there's a bunch of competitors and Department of Defense. A lot of things like internet search engine, old internet concept came out of dark long. So I hope that answers the question. The concepts of AI are not owned by anyone, but these applications that work, that's something that is owned by the network. Make sense? You good? Stay with me. All right. Any other questions before I move forward? All right. We've talked about ChatGPT. Let's look at real uses of artificial intelligence and machine learning in data management. This is all stuff we've been working on. So one of the biggest problems every company has, you can be any Global 2000 company or large federal agency, you have mountains of redundancy, horribly redundant processes, horribly redundant applications, all over the place. An organization and your data is flawed. Most companies' data is highly inaccurate, misunderstood. Most companies, I do not want to name companies, but I can name several companies in the Fortune 500 who make products. And if you ask them, what does product number mean? You will get several different answers. I mean, that's as basic as it gets. What's a product number? Many answers in the same company. When organization's data is incorrect, misunderstood, or misleading, and you feed bad data into your model, that model falls flat on the ground real fast. It's going to struggle horribly. So that's something you want to remember. So when I share that, everybody here who's been data management practitioners for a long time, all the fundamental things we've done for decades are now even more important than they were before. Having global definitions for your key business, having valid value sets throughout an enterprise, seminally important. Tying your data elements to those business, vital if you're going to manage your enterprise. And that has not changed with artificial. IT redundancy is absolutely out of control. Your typical organization, in my hands-on experience, if they have 7 petabytes of data, they can do everything they do today with the same backup with 1. 7-fold data redundancy is what I have seen throughout my career. Nothing I've seen today makes me think that. In fact, I think it may be getting worse, the advent of the data lake, but that is the topic for a different, the rest. Because I have thoughts on the data lake. Here's the deal. Machine learning is great promise. Because remember early on, those of you who were taking careful notes, remember when I said it's good at identifying patterns? Remember that? Boom, right here we see it. Machine learning can really help in a data governance program. We had a client partner, Micron, Fortune, I think 300. They built semiconductors. So a lot of the chips in your phone or the PCs may have come from Micron. ETL, if anyone who's worked on a data warehouse or an analytical program, you write programs in software called ETL, extract, transform, and load. They had over 6,000 of these programs sitting out. That's a lot of processing power. Not as much as ChatGPT at 700,000 a day, but it's quite a bit. Using machine learning, we identified and discovered over half of these jobs were needlessly redundant. They're just redundant. So once we had scanned their environment, set it up properly, that took a lot of time. Once we're able to do it, we're able to run the scan, figure out 60% of their retail jobs were redundant. removed them down to 2,388. That's called a return on investment. And that's a real world application. We presented this at a big conference, so it was fun to, it's nice to be able to share with the company. Questions on it. So identifying redundancy. I can tell you there's so many applications for it. Another client partner manufacturing company, they thought that they were doing a pretty good job at PII, personally identifiable information. They thought they were doing a pretty good job. Like, hey, we actually have a spreadsheet. I mean, this is the leading edge of technology. We have a spreadsheet that shows our PII data. This is our PII work. We ran AI on those, had it in our data governance. They were missing about 82% PII that they have, including security number, that's the United States, driver's license number, home address, name, marital status. This stuff that really causes a problem. It was replicated all over there. They didn't even know it. But using AI, pattern matching, figure this stuff out. It's great once you set it. Questions on removing redundancy is a great application for machine learning. All you data management folks, this is what it's all about right here. In the past, this was a manual process. Now to be able to automate this is great. All right. It also can ease the burden on data stewards. Anybody who's run a data governance program, it's hard getting all these business stewards involved because most of our data, it might be labeled, but we don't have definitions on it. We don't have valid values on it. The typical global company has over 10,000 applications, millions of data elements, petabytes of data. To sift through that manually is brutal. Just not to be able to do it. And machine learning can ease this. I'll give you an example. There's a company today that we're working with. We use AI. Well, actually, I gave the example. I'm sorry, we're going to have this one coming up on PII. We're able to use AI to identify those patterns to find where we have all these data gaps. If you guys follow the problems with data privacy, they're everywhere. Citibank, 25 billion, not million, $1 billion of fine because they can't manage their customers' data with a nickel, and they have a data breach concept. There's a website, I forget the name of it, where you can type in your email address and you can see how many places your email address is part of the data. My personal, I think it was 18. That was years ago when I checked. 18. That's not bad. It's only 18. I mean, 18 crimes against me. That's okay. It won't be less than Wally's. It's over 1,000. Goodness. How many? So, how many spam do you get a day? What's the most spam? You don't have as many.
I have so much.
You don't have as many as I.
Oh, Lord.
Yes.
That's a good point.
That's right. And that's why it's good to have more complicated passwords. Don't have very simplistic passwords. So I would not have David and my age on the password. That would be far too simple to figure out. No, there's a lot of ways. Yeah, so first up, when you get an email, for those of you who get tons of spam, you should know right off the get-go, that email address that you see is that's easily changed. It is very easy to change that, so you can't always trust that. No, it is. They have other ways as well. They can get it in, for example, Microsoft email like we do, but they can get into your Microsoft account. Another way they can get at you, if they can figure out your personal life, your personal password. Another way. Remember, they have bots running basic iterations. So it's not like some dude sitting there putting it in. It looks nothing like what you can. Some guy pulls up a computer, he hacks into the Pentagon. Doesn't work at all. So no, there are other ways they can get. If you take you don't replicate it in 10 other spots. Because what they're trying to get is find hope. If they're really interested in you, what they're going to do is try to find other places that have data group, use the same password for all of them. Guess what? They may try that. The criminals are some of the most inventive people out there. Or, oh yeah. So one of my client partners is the Department of Defense, and another one is the FBI. And currently on that Homeland Security, I will tell you, all email is coming. If you store any text message, all can be just getting in it. That's how anything that's sent out, somebody can intercept it on the way. Just like I can send a text to my wife, and it can go to no matter where she's actually get it, because it's all over the place. Her phone intercepts it, somebody else does. So if anything you send in the airwaves, hardwire you can. If I send information to my piece of yours, hardwire, no one can really get at that unless they grab the wire. It's a hard time. Makes sense. You see some of the Mission Impossible movies that have, some cockamamie plan or posted because you have to physically sitting at a computer. Those are pretty tough. Not safe at all. How safe is public Wi-Fi? I don't know. So if you're going to on a public Wi-Fi send out like all your key information, you may want to be a little careful. Yeah. And airports. Airports have all kinds of scams because they know people are coming in and out. You're normally in a rush. You're not using your typical. Right? Criminals are very clever. If they spent that energy working on something valuable, they probably would do better than being a criminal. Great questions. And I'm not a data security expert. I certainly work at it. You kind of can't help it. I know at FBI we had anything that had top secret information. There is no port on that. You have that on that laptop. Other people can't get at it. You have to physically get that laptop. There are all kinds of rules. All right. Last real world example we'll walk you through. Auto tag. This is one I personally am just starting to do, and it's one that very much excites me. So we'll be doing this with a very, very large government entity in the United States, one of the big corporations. One of the challenges we have is unstructured data. I think one of the folks last night at our dinner, she deals with a ton of unstructured. One of the things that I like in the AI technology. So take a step back. Normally, how do you deal with unstructured data? You take somebody's smart business person, have them look at it and say, oh, that's genomic data. Oh, that's a disease. Oh, it's in this state. They then type in that metadata. Metadata tells you the who, what, when, where, how, and why of the data. You have somebody type that in. Very time consuming. Tens of thousands of personnel do that. Very different. So imagine trying to do that with a global company with 10,000 applications, petabytes of data. Goodness, it takes forever to do that. And I've been part of companies that did that. And the really successful, it's years to do. However, we're working with a couple entities today where we're looking at AI technology that can look at that unstructured data, those images, and then attach metadata. So, hey, this is the genome. This is one in a disease state. This is one in stage 3, 4, 5, whatever the case may be, and do that automatically. Now, a couple tricks to that. You better, especially if you're dealing with genomic data, you need a darn good classification because that's complicated stuff. Product hierarchies are a little bit simple. Second thing you really need to do is you need to be able to have an algorithm that can successfully break down that image into smaller components. Very complicated. Even in the stuff that I'm doing, where I think we're really going to have way more success than the normal would. I'm estimating, and our goal is hit 50% accuracy. We can hit 50% after a couple of years of building this. That'll be amazing. That'll save them 40, 50,000 person hours of work. And 50% will be award winning. And this is something, but over time, we'll tune that model a little bit better. This is a really exciting use of AI that I see, and one that we're working with a couple of people on this, including a pharmaceutical company. Really exciting. Questions on any of my examples before I wrap it up? All right. Many, many more. I could just keep going with ideas of ways to utilize this, because as information management professionals, it's our job to bring forward. That's what's out there. Okay. It's our job to fix it. All right. Oh, a couple other things. I had a ChatGPT example. I forgot about this. Companies are now, data governance companies now integrating it with their software. I'm going to show you an example of it. This is a younger company, but they have exciting software. They have integrated it into their product line. Their software loads analytics, think reports and visualization, and have data stewards and metadata. Classic thing we do in data governance and information management. Classic to do that. They've linked ChatGPT to allow the user to ask questions about the. By the way, what I'm about to show you is good. But they actually show they ask, hey, in the last 12 months, how many patients, and they show their client name, Providence, referred for physical therapy in the San Francisco area. And it was able to correctly give the answer of 196,000. Obviously, they've obfuscated numbers a little bit because it wouldn't be so rough. Remember I talked about critical thinking. I hope when all of you looked at that, you said, wait a minute, that number is too round to be an exact example of critical thinking. Anyway, what percentage of these patients stayed in network or went out of network? And it actually showed you a pie chart, popped it right up. And it could even say summarize it and even give more information. They actually integrated it into the software. I know the CEO of the company several years. They're young, they're newer, and we're going to see a lot more applications, like the real world stuff where it will allow people to use the software in a more human-like way, interactive way, because ChatGPT does do a nice job at parsing language, really does. Better than our phones. All right, let me wrap it up and pass the baton back to Dr. Wall. Final analysis. AI and machine learning is not a match. Not at all. When you read an article about schools erecting a shrine to this thing, those are goofy people who probably need help. It's not what it is. Not a magic bullet. These large models are shockingly expensive. I hope that when you saw the numbers I gave you, that this company was so successful, lost $500 million. That should tell you something. They just got a $10 billion transfusion. They're going to be around for a while, but it's a lot of money. You must do your foundational data management. Somebody asked about jobs. My job as a data management professional is safer today than it's ever been. Because with these kind of AI engines, that data is poor, misunderstood, it's accurate, it's misleading. They're dead meat. I've blown up all their own, not even a problem. My job became even more important. When I say mine, all of them. If you're a member here of IIM, for everybody who's watching, you have a lot of work to do in the coming decade. We all implementing AI and machine learning is the bleeding edge. The kind of stuff I've shown you, we are way on the bleeding edge of this. Anytime you're on the bleeding edge, you're going to have challenges. It never works quite as pretty as it does on a slide where I just showed it to you so quickly and it looks easy. All of those took dedicated teams, high-end people working very hard late into the night to implement them. That's how it's done. There are no magic bullets. All data management programs need to leverage this kind of technology to help it. I'm using it in all of them. If you follow the fundamentals I've given you here, you're gonna achieve some great results. So I thank you. Take care.
Thank you very much. Oh, we want to do the next.
Nagano ka ko? Nagano. Nagano.
There's something you said about I'm reading that question. You said something about reduction.
Yeah.
What happens from 3,000 to all these guys? What would it do?
Fantastic question. So in that particular example, these are ETL jobs that are scheduled and run, many on their own. Several things happen in that particular company. One is the amount of money they paid to the electric company went down, much like Comfort and Sweets, that the lights just flickered on us. So their bill went down to them. They were spending less money on hardware because all that's running on hardware and servers. And as far as some of the people who maybe were supporting some of that, they now have availability to do other things. And in data management and in analytics, I've yet to see an organization that had everything they needed. We need so much better analytics. There are so many tasks and programs we need to work on that we just don't have the budget, the bandwidth to do many, many things. To me, I certainly see it in my area, as a consultant, we know it, like if there's a demand for us, we know people want these skills. And for us, demand's never been higher. Great question, though.
This was terrible for those people that are young, are going into. But with this time, it's good we have this, and we can use it to maintain.
Well, it will be interesting because we don't know fully how it'll be leveraged, right? Like we're on the bleeding edge. So how it'll go will be interesting. Personally to me, and I've done this for 30 years, I've seen this. The people who are doing data management today, the ones who lose their job are the ones who didn't deliver value. And one of the hardest things that we've had historically in delivering value is how difficult it is. The mess is so horrible, it's so overwhelming that it's difficult to lose value, to deliver value unless you're really an expert at it, you really know how to do it. So to me, those few people, I mean, there will be some companies who will, of course, right? Like we'll see some of that. But I think what we will see is that instead of data management programs where they fire everybody, which I've seen numerous times, they will have provided value and they'll keep their job because of where we're at maturity-wise. At least for us. Will there be jobs in other areas that we may lose? What's it called? Zendesk, is it? It's the one where they have people chat, if you chat with someone, probably those may go. But there'll also be many new jobs in the programming of these models in the building. And I would also add one more thing. If you leave here today with nothing else, leave here that ChatGPT is stunningly expensive to run. Stunningly. Now, not everybody has Microsoft giving them $11 billion to hang around. Right? I can tell you at EW Solutions, no one's handing us $11 billion to stick around and lose big money. So it'll be very interesting.
Thank you so much, Zach.
Great question. Thank you for that.
So let's give Dr. Marco round of applause for the presentation. And in order to summarize the response to what we just asked, the bottom line is that at the point we might be able to gain some, we're going to lose some of them, some of these jobs. Definitely, there are new opportunities. And this has gone to, uh, you know, the emphasize of the need for professionals to ensure that they are up to date, they continue to develop professionally. And that's why continuing professional development program actually desirable in this context because a lot is happening, technology is evolving, and the need for us as individuals, as workers, to evolve and keep learning and not be oversatisfied. So the lesson from this is the fact that we need to keep learning, we need to keep abreast of technology, and we need to ensure that we are up in our games. Aside that, it might be difficult to compete in the nearest. So thank you very much, Dr. Marco. We're going to go into we're going to have a brief presentation, and for those of us that are joining the right now. We're going to be looking at the Institute of Management, where we stand for what the Institute has actually been involved in the last the Institute of the Premier Commission on Data and Information Management, and now is global, and we are now to ensure that every platform to your data information as a professional institute, registered in the State of America, which we have at the Institute of also has a chapter in other 8 countries. We're registered and also in Canada, we're in United Kingdom, we're in Nigeria, we're in Ghana, we're in South Africa, we're in Australia, we're in Switzerland, and Israel. So as a professional institute, we've got quite a number of and you can tell them what kind of I know you are like I mentioned then you have various patterns. So talking about the Institute of Data Management, what's our core values? Our core values include standards, verification, competence, and research. We want to make sure that because prior to the creation of the Institute of Data Management, this was actually established by a non-profit organization called the RIMA Foundation. The RIMA Foundation is Records and Information Management. This started in 2004 officially. Next year, we're going to be trained years, and the foundation identified the number of gaps when we talk about data and information management. We realize the fact that if you pick a particular sector of the economy, health sector, and we have a sample about, let's say, 5 to 10 health facilities, you actually realize the fact that those facilities will be doing the same task in 10 different ways. So meaning those standards in place. So we look at managing data and information life cycle. And as a professional institute, decided to analyze data and information management by helping to develop And in terms of how data is being collected, sector of the economy, how data is being classified, how they are being indexed, how they are being stored, how they are being assessed, the kind of security you provide around the data, where those data are stored ultimately, and the various retention periods. Because these are some of the gaps that the River Foundation actually identified, and we try to bridge the gaps by ensuring that we're able to help different sectors of the economy be able to overcome some of these challenges. Then the second core value, which is certification, is the fact that the River Foundation realized the fact that there are quite a number of professionals in our field, in the field of data management, in the field of information management, in the field of knowledge management, in the field of document records and markers. But one thing that is common is the fact that in most organizations, these professionals are hardly being there. They haven't been, when you talk about the career ladder, it's really, really not up there. You hardly find them, at the top management level, at the C level, and you find data managers. So that level. That's going to show the level of data capacity. You have to look at the financial sector. You could see the kind of recognition being given to accountants, various organizations. When we talk about the pay scale, when we talk about the career ladder, we talk about the continuity and so on. So these are all the things that we are trying to do, right? So this is certification so that professionals are being seen as professionals in various organizations. They are being recognized by employers and also by governments. So that's why we believe that we need to instill a kind of certification programs that would make practitioners in the field of data and information management to be recognized. That's why we came up with certification as our second core value. Then the third one is completed. The River Foundation has then realized the fact that in a lot of organizations, we find varieties of professionals from activists, document controllers, records managers, information technicians, data managers, quite a number of them. We did a kind of a survey and we realized the fact that a very large chunk, over 80% of professionals in those fields never started their career where they were as at then. So a number of them came from different backgrounds, they came from different disciplines, from different fields, without having the primary, the fundamental knowledge about data and information. So we decided to take this up by helping to come up with programs that would help them realize and understand the basics. Because you'll be shocked that somebody, for example, an activist, somebody that has been working as an activist for over 15 years, might not know the difference between data and information. So this is just an example of some of the gaps that we realized. And we felt it was necessary for us to see as despite the fact that they've been there over the years, we still need to help them build a solid foundation so that they have a and better understanding what they are doing. So that was why we came up with the first aspect of it. And you'll agree with me, for any organization that wants to be ready to grants, research is one area that we need to continually invest in. So our last core value is research, and at the professional institute, what do we provide professional service? We're a non-profit organization. We don't buy, we don't sell, we don't pay profit. And from running our activities, we get funding from membership, people joining the institute, and we've got quite a number of membership categories. We are ranging from students, from graduates, associate professionals, professionals, which is open to any corporate organization. So to become a member of the Institute of Risk Management, the beauty is that you don't have to be a scientist, you don't have to belong to any particular discipline or field. Because you all will agree with me that data management is everybody's responsibility. Is there anyone in this room that doesn't have a mobile phone? So, starting from our personal data to some of the data we generate in the course of our businesses, the data we also use maybe while collaborating on projects with organizations, with government agencies, and so on and so forth. All of this data needs to be properly managed. And that is why data and information management knowledge is everybody's responsibility. And these days, we get to hear a lot about data literacy. So, one of those days we talk about computer literacy, it has become the norm right now. Regardless of your field or regardless of your discipline, whatever thing you do, you're expected to have computer knowledge. Now we're talking about data. It means regardless of what you do, regardless of your background, you need to be data literate, which means you need to be able to understand your roles and the responsibilities when it comes to managing the entire data and information lifecycle. So the data and information lifecycle, we're actually talking about the points at which data is being captured, is being created, the points at which data is being classified, the point at which is being indexed or numbers, the point at which is being stored, the point at which data is being retrieved, and ultimately the point at which data is being disposed. So when we talk about disposition of data and information, it does not necessarily have to be functional, depending on the company policy, depending on the regulation, depending on the law that is governing the sector in which you operate. So, during this policy management, will depend on the number of years of professional skills. So, the student membership is your strength regarding professionals that have little or no job experience. Associated for any professional with minimum of 2 years of experience. Professional is for any professional with a minimum of 5 years of experience. The senior professional is for any professional with minimum of 10 years of experience. Then we have the fellow for any professional with a minimum of 2 years of experience. They're talking about the IIM fellowship. We've got the professional fellow and we've got the honorary fellow. Professional fellows are expected to improve their skills and knowledge in data and information management by plugging into the IIM continuing professional development program. So every year they are expected to accumulate a number of CPD points, to be able to retain the validity of their status as fellows and certified professionals. The honorary fellow is more like a reward recognition for professionals that perform that have achieved in the field of data information management and other related skills. Then the corporate membership brings to corporate organization that is willing and interested in ensuring that they have employees, they have processes that are properly and well run, they are able to cut down costs and also protect information within the organization. So what are the various benefits? There are lots of benefits management. We've got opportunity like this where we invite members and share systems, best practices, and also, network and experience. Then IIM accredited membership actually an for presentation for professionals. We've received quite a lot of testimonies. We've had members after joining the Institute of Information Management executive level in their various organizations. We've had people, through the IIM service, accredited for the system, able to get good employment opportunities. And a lot of organizations across the globe recognize IIM today. Even the embassies across the globe, they recognize IIM. And we also have business opportunity, employment opportunities. A lot of times, organizations come to IIM to submit CVs of qualified for certain jobs they will not be able to fill internally. And even sometimes they advertise in the days, they are unable to get the right candidate for this job. They send them to us, they ask us to nominate professionals within our network. Take up that. We recommend people even for government projects, government contracts, and so many things. And professionals and individuals that have businesses also to leverage on their to get deals, to get businesses, and also, to ensure that they expose their products and services to a large group of people across the globe. Then we also have, members patronizing in different countries, sharing lessons learned, doing so many things. They're collaborating on projects. They're doing so many things together on their platform. So it's also an opportunity for knowledge and best practices. International opportunities, like we have Madam here, came all the way from Abuja, FCP, Nigeria to join this. So it's part of the international opportunity that members have the flexibility to join us at any of our locations. Then, like I mentioned earlier, career opportunities and business partnership with the institutes and even other members within the institute. Then we have we provide professional certification, and every month we organize webinars. Totally, we have 3 quarterly training. All these programs are free programs for our members, and we also give certificates of attendance for those that are able to attend, and we also end towards maintaining their membership. Then, in terms of the professional certification, any of our in IIM we actually certificate membership of certification, because we believe that it's not all our members that have all data and information certification. Some just want to join and need to learn best practices to be able to see how it affects what they do and their discipline, because there is practically no discipline that does not have the cost of data. So people want to learn how it affects their industry, and the disruption we're experiencing with AI these days. That is the more reason why people need to join IIM. Because if you want to retain your job, you have to be abreast of technology. And where else would you be than to be on the IIM platform? We also provide a variety of training. We've got foundation training, professional training, we have certification training, and then master certification programs. We have about 10 options from ranging from archives management, data management, database management, document management, graphic information system, health information management, information security, knowledge management, library management, records and information management. Then we have this IIM study. It's a general information management system. We want to make sure that every employee in any organization, they are able to realize their roles and responsibilities when it comes to how they handle it. Because employees happen to be the most valuable assets in any organization. And at the same time, they are the #1 risk factor that any organization needs to contend with. And that is why organizations involved and also invest in professional development for their employees. A lot of times when data is being compromised, when there are injuries, crises, breaches, conducting a root cause analysis, we find out that sometimes the employee might not really do some of those things, intentionally. Might not be intentional, but ignorance, might be lack of awareness, and so on and so forth. And that was why we get certification, because in the next 20 today, we saw quite a number of government confidential documents flying around on social media, on the internet, and we have set up ad hoc committee to investigate and see what was actually responsible. So they realized the fact that a group of organizations start what is called IG. IG is information governance. So when you don't have information governance, there's no policy, no procedure, nothing, then employees are likely to misuse your data. And as a result of that, came up with the institution so that employees will be properly educated on how to manage their personal data that belongs to their organization or other stakeholders they are actually working. So the first certification is education and certification of the employees on data and information management. And for key professionals in the field within the organization, apart from attending the class of the estimate that GRMC examination. So if you pass the examination, you get a professional GRMC certification, and other employees get certificate of attendance. And this will expect every organization to at least are those lists of areas I listed earlier. So they have opportunity of having a master's education in archives management, data management, database management, PRS, health information management, information security, and so on. So part of the benefits as members of the Institute of Information Management, you don't have to go through all this rigor to get certified. So as a member of the Institute, you can just submit your resume to our certification department. They will do a proper evaluation, and you're going to be tested in you're going to be evaluated in 4 different areas. They're going to look at your membership. Are you a member of any data information management professional body that has any certification? Are you a member of IIM? If you're a member of IIM, if you're a fellow, you're going to get 2 stars of 25 points. As a fellow, you boost time, basically, you already got 25 points from there. And then they are going to look at your professional experience to the skills that you apply. Because as at the time you're applying for your certification, you must have determined what will take your major. Your major will come from the 10 areas I mentioned earlier. See that your major is health information management. It means at the end of the day, you want to have your master's certification in health information management. That is a major. Or if it is in data management, that is a major. And so on and so forth. So if your major is, let's say, data management, and you already have up to the 3 years of experience, data management related to might be evaluated and the maximum points of 25. But if you don't add up to that, you could have like 10 points, you could have like 12 points, 15 points, depending on your resume. That will be added to your previous 25 points. Then education and training, if you have a bachelor's degree, you have I think that one's about 20 points. You have master's, you have 25 points. If you have a lower, let's say diploma, you're going to get something between 10 and 15 or so. Then if you have other professional certifications that are related to your major, evaluation, yes, as you already have, and that's 25 plus 25 plus 15 plus 6. Then at the end of the day, they are going to look at this table and determine the certification you are actually qualified to earn without taking a class, without writing an exam. So if you, from the evaluation, total points, if you have between 40 and 49.9, you're going to be granted IMP1 certification. IMP2 is 69.9, IMP2 70 to 89.9. If you have anything above from 90 and above, then it means you get your majors in the master's education. So these are opportunities as members of the institute for you to become certified. And it's a fast track. For you to do that, you need to send a mail to certification and for you to do the job. So why IIM? IIM is established to help organizations to improve efficiency, to help them to pull down costs of operation, to help them to mitigate risk that are associated with data. You all will agree with me. They are all exposed to data. That's it. And we have to. But the moment you have a mobile phone, you have any device connected to the internet, then you are exposed to information. A lot of times, people think they are only chatting with their friends. There could be somebody, a man in the middle, watching all your activities. I remember you asked about public Wi-Fi earlier. By the time you are hooked up to public Wi-Fi, you run the risk of a man in the middle attack. What that means is the fact that whatever thing you're doing on the internet, there's a possibility that somebody somewhere could be in a room watching all your transactions to the bank, watching all your chats with your friends and families, watching all the various activities you're performing on the system. They're actually going to start at the point of next And some of them are so, they are social. So it's just, we're talking about access now. Once they have access to your platform, remotely, they will do so many things, they will run programs. I always advise individuals with laptops. To check my laptop, I have two profiles on my laptop. I have the admin profile and I have the user's profile, which is what I use for my day-to-day. The admin profile, I don't use it. Ask me why, because somebody could hijack the system online. And from there, they can run programs on the system. They can do so many things. But if you hack into my account that is not admin, you will be limited by what you're actually going to be able to do. You can successfully get on my computer. So that is also another way to protect yourself. So the moment they have access to your system, they can go into your log to see what you have done. Anything. It's just like giving your laptop to somebody to work on. They're having remote access. That's just the difference. The difference is that you have the physical machine. Somebody has the virtual. So in as much as you can perform, they can equally do that because they now have access to it. So as a professional, you want to help organizations to mitigate some of these challenges. Some of organizations, predominantly in Africa, they're having issues and challenges managing information, managing data, but they don't even know who to go to. Because our field needs, we need to create awareness about what we do. Let people know, because sometimes they ask you, what do you do as an information manager? You're just a clerk, taking files from table to table. That is what a lot of people, information management, do. Then we go out there to let them know, professional discipline, this be trained, this is certified, you need to have the knowledge and professional capability perform effectively. So every organization that provides services wants efficiency, effectiveness in everything they do. Every organization wants to cut down on the cost of operation. And the only way you can do that is by the proper information management and governance. Then in terms of moral, ethical, and legal responsibilities, every organization these days needs to be responsible. Because people they won't have confidence in that organization that cannot provide security for their basic target. You don't have all of these in place. And that is why all these data protection laws we learn all over the world today is a good and welcome development because every organization will be expected at the end of the day to conduct what is called data audits. Even in Nigeria, that is happening, we have this in 2019. Organizations are expected to perform audit. The same way you do your financial audit every other day. There is an agency that is called Nigerian Data Protection Commission. They are expected to submit your data audit reports every year. You have to do that because that's the only way that your customers can have confidence in. For them to be able to entrust their personal PII into your hands and into your care. So information that is not timely, that is not accurate, that is not complete, that is not cost effective, that is not accessible and usable, that's good as not having it. A lot of organizations have tons of data and information, but they are not accessible. So that's good as not having them. And that is why this institute is very, very important. Because we want to help organizations find all of this because better information at the right time will help organizations to make better business decisions. We also talk about, control and creation, growth of records and information efficiency, new record management technologies, ensuring compliance, and also, mitigating risk of litigation. So, and also, a lot of times, organizations, they tend to manage information same way. And from our professional standpoint, we know there are certain data and information that are called vital information. So when you're preserving, when you're storing vital information, there are special, storage that needs to be put in place. We also want to certify organizations that want to support management decisions and also help them to preserve their corporate memory, ensuring that they're able to invite professional taxes into the operations and ultimately the cost of the operation. So on that note, we come to the end of our presentation, talking about what IIM is, what we do, what we have to do, and so on and so forth. On that note, I hope to welcome those that are very much great, and you're welcome to the IIM. I get your yeah, when you can that's the plan. Sometimes I say, there was a deal that was actually a couple of years back. Last year, the deal was able to fail to the first reading, failed to the second reading, and ultimately invited, at the session of National Assembly, when we presented, the institute during the day, and any moment from there, we actually expect from China. Nigeria, thereafter, we actually have a kind of milestone schedule, talking about policy and project. So as soon as we see that, we also have next level of unity. So the implements at the background. Then talk about the recognition of the partners of the institution. We have kind of confidence. Actually just 9 chapters and we have quite a number of other chapters that are coming up, but we have to wait for those and probably can be announced. This is something we are very, very aware of and we work to make sure that time becomes as and mind you, our discipline is term of so when you talk about data and information, a lot of times people think they're talking about IT. And if you mention it's not a computer person, not into IT. So we try to let them know that IT is enabling money, not really about IT. In the absence of that, because our time is fast spent, we would have to move on to the next agenda, which is the induction of our new members. We're going to be calling out from them during the session, before the procession, we had the name is called highly proceed the stage. Highly proceed the stage. Most of our leaders you are having. For those that are not needs to quickly talk up to the state people down such this without
Yeah.
How are we going to go with the banner?
It just refuses to stay up.
So I need to.
You want me to-
Or drop in a sign.
That's on.
We can, maybe we should try. So while we're working at that, I can't just pick up and do that just for me. Start to dress up so that we can hasten up and then the show.
Exactly.
Okay, we're going to invite the first set of special summary and I have here Alan Charles. Please can you welcome with your own business? Can we give him a round of applause, please? Some of them are online and some are still going on to the course of this program. Linda Muredikel, Follow Manager. We also have Pastor Solomon Ajayi. Pastor Solomon Ajayi, please join us on stage. A round of applause for you. And Princess Dr. Adeleke Akewi, Onora, Chibuzo, Michael, Andrew, Ngozi Ikagla, Pastor Henry Oludemiro, Douglas A. Eze, and Mr. Theophilus Adeyemi. Next on the list, I'm going to invite you. And the diagram, go to one is Amara, so this is the list of for the performance of I. You say after the I, the human, you know, and put myself service problem rather than Very Who's representing professional fellows? I think I'll take you on.
um, just been nominated, so I haven't prepared this, but on behalf of all those who've been nominated today, thank you very much. The global community of information management have been reaching for a very long time, so just to have this here in Chicago today, making more connections around the world is a wonderful thing. Thank you again.
Can we have the representative of the professional fellows? Let's hear from you.
Hi, on behalf of all the inductees, I'd like to say a very big thank you. Thanks for having us.
Okay, a round of applause. So on that note, we come to the end of the 2023 IIM convention here in Chicago. We shall be announcing shortly, we shall be announcing the 2024 convention location shortly. And for those that are just coming on board, in the course of the week, you'll be onboarded in the various IIM platform, and from there, you get to receive timely information about events and activities, going on within the IIM platforms. So on that note, I want to invite all our members to come and file out here for us to officially close to this program with recession. I mentioned for those of us that were around at the beginning of the briefing, I mentioned the fact that we start the program with recession and we end it with recession. So recessioning means we're bringing the program to a close. So please kindly come and file out here while we listen to the induction and the profession song. We have the old fellows, sorry, the existing fellows. You remember that? Yeah. Okay, honorary fellows behind them, please.
Yeah, yes, it's classic graduation.
Thank you, everyone. To those that are home, thank you for joining us online. The
Thank
program has
Congratulations, congratulations, my doctor. Congratulations
Thank-
for another milestone. More grace
Thank
to
you so
everyone.
much, Doctor. Many
Thank you,
thanks.
doctor,
for the great event. It was a
Yes.
success.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Marco, please, live interview.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, you're on.
Is
Your
that
fans
David
from
Marco?
Nigeria, they're all here.
Ah,
You know
David
what? I
Marco.
have many fans in Nigeria, and I am a fan of all of
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Marco. Nice to see you virtually again. We are physically in America, yeah?
It is my honor to have been here. It's my honor to speak to everyone, and God bless all of you. I hope everyone's doing great.
Yeah.
All right, doctor. Have a good dinner enjoyment today, right?
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
goodbye.
Ciao.
That was fun.
Queen, let's have a short interview with you. Yeah, you can come online. So, what do you feel about today's program?
Oh my God. Well, you know what? This is my second one, and I feel so elated seeing everyone from all over the world, Africa, Abuja, Chicago, Houston, and Maryland. You know, it's an honor to be here, Ambassador. You have made today a very great day. We learned a lot from Dr.
Marco?
Oh my God. The whole thing was like sending manna from heaven. I have never seen anything like this. Though I'm a scientist, I'm a researcher, I'm in finance, but there's something about today that really got me going. Globally, we need to understand what data management is. Dr. Ambassador Yedeko, the way you explained it made us to really know that it's not about IT, it's about globally knowing what it means to manage data. I have never been into IT, but you know what? My brain is full now, and I'm gonna make good use of it, especially what you said about artificial intelligence, the neuron, the synapses, to know how it works. Oh my God, I'm filled. I'm in finance. I left clinical to go into finance. I'm now from transferring wealth to transferring data. So guess what? I am all for IT, for management, for information, for intelligence, for whatever. Sir, I just want to thank you
You're welcome.
for again inviting me.
Thank
I
you.
didn't think I would make it, but I made it.
Yes.
And I'm glad and I'm honored. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome. Alan, you want to say something to people online?
Tough to follow that.
Okay.
Thank you for inviting me here. Fantastic. I think the whole theme of this, though, is information management, documents, unstructured data, structured, doesn't matter. We're in a world of AI now. And the AI is very, very clever, but without the skills of the professionals, it's going to. I think that's the big message for me, and hope that resonates. And I hope we work together to raise the visibility, the value, the professional skills, and get that message out to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're honored to have you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Pastor, do you have anything to say? We'd like to hear from you.
I want to thank Ambassador for giving me this opportunity. And I really appreciate you and the love opportunity to bless you. We'll take it to a higher height. So this IIM will grow and be recognized all over the world. And I want to thank
Dr. Marco.
Dr. Marco for the teaching. I use data for business decision making. Wow, that's what I studied in school. So I really appreciate it. Everything just came together. Wow, thank you very much.
We're glad to have you.
I was taking
I don't even know where to start from. Well, first of all, I give thanks to God for today, and also I give thanks to Dr. Ambassador Ayodoko and Dr. Marco. We appreciate everything. When we talk about data information, right now, the way the whole world is going right now, there's no field at all that doesn't need data technology, data information, especially our background where I come from in Africa, in Nigeria. So this program is kind of unique and special, and I believe the way we're looking at it now, in the next, it's already all over the world. It's already all over the world. Even no matter what field you're in, data management is very, very important. I'm in nursing and also have a personal business in restaurant. So there's no way you can escape that. It's very, very important that we are aware about the data. These things is something that we really need. And I appreciate everybody coming down today. May God guide you guys, protect you guys, make you back home safely.
Amen.
Okay, Miss Queen, every one of you, Maryland, California, Houston, Texas, thank you for coming. I appreciate you. And Chicago, yes. Actually, this is the first time we're doing this in Chicago. So now we're going to be bringing more programs down to Chicago. May God bless you all. And you guys are home online. God bless you and thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Lawyer, can we have you? You're live.
Yeah, I want to use this opportunity to appreciate the management and the staff of the Institute of Information for Africa. I really appreciate the privilege and the honor given to me and to all the new inductees. We really appreciate it. It's a new development that you are creating a great awareness of information management, because it's not only limited to IT, it's all over. It affects every segment of life that we have to properly manage information. So it's a great opportunity, and I say thank you to the management, thank you to everyone. I say congratulations to all the inductees. May God bless you all.
Amen. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, everyone. At this point, want to say a very big thank you once again and officially shut down the program for today. So we look forward to having you on board again in 2024, somewhere in the United States, of which we're going to announce shortly. So thank you and have a wonderful weekend. Bye for now. Goodbye. See you again in Africa.